Well, hey there. You've stumbled upon the intersection of internet quandaries and psychological insight. Welcome to Veritas Views on AITA, where the quirks of the internet meet the expertise of Veritas Psychology Partners.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Gayle MacBride, and I'm joined by our dynamic duo of psychologists.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gayle MacBride, and today with me is Dr. Dan Kessler, whose intellect is only matched by his wit. Or is it the other way around?
Probably. Thanks. I look forward to your insight, Dr. MacBride, and love jumping into these. So, Michael, take us away.
What do you have for us?
Welcome both of you, of course, and to the newbies out there. If you haven't followed us before and you don't know what "Am I the Asshole" is, in short, someone posts a scenario and asks the readers, "Who's the asshole here?" And that's what our doctors here are going to help us determine. Neither Dan nor Gayle have seen this before or read it, so let's go. Today's prompt kind of made me laugh when I saw it, and it has one of the very, in my mind, best internet responses, just the way it's phrased. So when we get to actually hear what the internet says, I look forward to sharing that with you.
Teasers. I like that.
I know. Yeah. So this is the headline. Am I the asshole for telling another mother our children aren't close anymore due to intelligence levels? So let me read the prompt.
Please say more.
Maybe you know what? Before we get into it, sometimes it's fun to guess. Maybe the mom's like, my kid isn't as bright as their kid, and probably not. Probably not. All right.
My daughter.
Letty, I think she's the asshole, by the way. That's
It is sort of predisposing, but I think sometimes the little heading really does lean toward
it does.
B.
It does. Yeah. All right.
Kind of like clickbait.
Why don't we not judge by the cover, and I'll hear it and then reserve judgment.
And then determine she's the asshole.
Well, only if she is.
Oh, Michael, you should really put us out of our misery. Tell us, what's the story?
All right. So my daughter, let's call her Sophie, used to be best friends with Kat, spelled with a K if that's relevant. They used to be best friends in elementary school, but ever since middle school have started to grow apart. The school split the kids into advanced and normal for math and science. All other classes are still together. My daughter got placed in the advanced group and Kat got placed in the normal group. No big deal, they still see each other in school. They were still close friends until group projects came around. There have been multiple group projects and kids get to pick their partners. Kat and Sophie usually work together, and that is where the issues started happening. Sophie would get really frustrated that the work Kat did simply wasn't correct, and I told her just to turn it in without fixing it, and if she got a bad grade on that assignment, we would deal with it. After that, Sophie went through a period of time fixing stuff after I told her to stop doing group projects with her. So they stopped doing group projects together and their friendship kind of ended. So now they're not friends anymore. It's Sophie's birthday party and invites were sent out. Kat wasn't on the invite list my daughter made. I got a call from her mom asking why she wasn't invited. I informed her they aren't really friends anymore. And she said to invite her anyway because this was just a spat and that it might end soon. I told her the people invited were the people my daughter chose and I wasn't going to overrule that. This went for a while and they came to a point where they really weren't friends anymore. And I ultimately said that it was due to the intelligence levels and tried explaining the group project issue. The mom got pissed for accusing me for calling her friend dumb. I never said that. She called me a jerk. And now I'm wondering, am I the asshole here?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I really, we're caught up in some language here around the academic trajectories of two different kids. And it can feel really good as a parent when you know your kid is tracking in these high potential and academic achieving kinds of courses. We forget that most of the students are really appropriately placed in this very, grade appropriate track, and to call it normal as if it's something lesser is a bit problematic. I think we have a point of view issue here that is it's really unfair.
Well, I'm and when I heard this first, my thought was, this is the mistake. People so often make the mistake of honesty.
Yes.
Not that we should lie, necessarily, but it doesn't mean that telling the truth is always the best choice. Like, I know it's a terrible thing. It sounds like a terrible thing to say. But
Well, I think,
sometimes not so much lying, but like this is an opportunity and the reality is maybe it has to do with other factors too. In addition to this, that this mom has really pinned it on this one thing, and that's her truth. And her truth is that my kid is brighter than that other one, and that's why they're not friends anymore in the projects. But there might be lots of other truths that have led to their
well, right. I mean, these girls maybe need to speak for themselves. And by the way, maybe these girls need to speak for themselves and use their own voice instead of having the moms fix the problems and tell them how to. I mean, as a parent, you have to guide your kids, but sometimes guiding your kids is about letting them speak to other adults to get input and information. Mom sounds like she is trying to have a lot of input over who this daughter is doing group projects with and frustrations around inaccurate information. And quite frankly, that's not the mom's job. The mom's job is to support the teacher in the classroom with the work that's being done. Your job is not to override or fix that. I really think Sophie needed to go to the teacher and say, hey, I'm struggling with my partner here. I know this content and I know we're about to turn in something that's not accurate. Sophie needed to do that at the school level, not at the parent level.
Yeah, and mom could have encouraged Sophie to do that, and Kat and Sophie could have potentially had a conversation around, like when Kat's mom called Sophie's mom. I mean, do you say at that point? This is a question I have actually more than anything. Do you say, "Gosh, I don't, the girls aren't necessarily close. Have you talked to Kat about this? Has Kat and Sophie talked about this? Like that's kind of two people talking about two other people and trying to interpret what those two other people are thinking rather than let those two girls work it out for themselves or talk to each other and recognize that,
And this is these are middle school girls. This is a time when friendships are in flux and they uproot and they change, and not necessarily for a permanent any sense of permanence, right? I mean, you make new friends in middle school, but by the time you get to high school, you're making new friends in college yet again. So I think we're also potentially overreacting to this friendship kind of dissolving or fading, and it doesn't mean it will be a forever thing. These girls clearly have a long history together. But as you said, to pin this on just intellectual differences, I mean, there may be some social and emotional differences. There may be interest level differences that are just pulling these kids a bit further apart than where maybe proximity served them in younger years.
Yeah, I think as the parent of a middle school girl right now, sometimes friendships do go into flux.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really troubled by there's a lot of things I'm troubled by in this. I'm troubled by the mom pinning it on intellect and then saying that even if it were true.
Right.
Even if it were true.
Even if her kid was like a candidate for Mensa.
Right. I mean, so that I'm troubled with that. I'm troubled by not seeing this as a middle school thing. Like I'm troubled by the moms talking to each other about it in a way that's not kind. I'm troubled by a lot here.
And I'm troubled by Kat's mom calling up Sophie's mom and saying, hey, you need to invite my daughter. I mean, that's problematic as well in terms of that ask. It might be, hey, I'm just noticing that, Sophie's birthday is coming up and we haven't seen that birthday party invitation we usually do. Do you know what's going on? Like that might be a mom to mom conversation, but then to insist that Kat be invited anyway is extraordinarily problematic, as opposed to that mom then turning to Kat and saying, I know it's really hard to feel like you're not invited this year to Sophie's party and helping her deal with those emotions at home, because Kat can't be invited to all things. I think as parents, we teach our kids this FOMO, like, oh my gosh, you have to go because you've always gone and it's always a part of the thing you do. And then we wonder why our kids have that same reaction to other events where they are so afraid of missing out. We've taught them, you can't be missing out. You can't miss an opportunity here.
Yeah, here's the thing, like I want Kat's mom to be saying to her, gosh, I wonder what's happening that you and Sophie aren't friends anymore. Like, did something happen between you, or are there any difficulties? Like, here's an opportunity for Kat's mom to work with her daughter on, like, understanding conflict and potentially resolving conflict, or understanding that sometimes our best friend in this grade is no longer our best friend, not because they're, but because we grow and change and develop, and the things that we think are cool when we're 12 aren't cool when we're 14, and the friends we have when we're 18 aren't necessarily the friends we're going to have when we're 40. I think there's a lot of missed opportunity here on everyone's part.
Yes.
But I'm really I mean, there's so many opportunities here to do this. They're like, it started at the beginning, like, we know Kat's mom could have handled this way better with her daughter.
Absolutely.
And then she calls up and says, why didn't your daughter invite my daughter? There's an opportunity there, even if she is going to intervene.
Mm-hmm.
What about, hey, our daughters used to be such close buds.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what might be going on between them?
Right. Which I've actually fielded that phone call or
Yeah.
text message from another parent. Hey, our
Yeah.
kids used to hang out and play together, and now I'm noticing that they're not. Do you know what happened? And my answer was absolutely. Here's what happened. Okay. And I think I provided that parent with some additional information that they didn't have, and that subject was over.
Yeah.
Because kids have to figure out the conflict for themselves.
That's delivered with kindness.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's delivered with they've had a falling out about whatever. That's what I'm hearing,
Mm-hmm.
but there's an opportunity for Kat's mom to have handled this with, like, hey, and that's true of anything. Like, if we're handling it with, I'm really curious.
Yes.
It's open. But then Sophie's mom, like, had the opportunity to go, gosh, the girl is drifting apart. And I know that, I mean, she could even have gone so far as, I know that Sophie and Kat have had some issues around group projects that there've been some conflicts there. Like,
Well,
left it at that. I would have rather said, the girls are having some conflicts. I don't know, or they need to work it out. But she could have been less. There's so many opportunities to be less judgy and blamey here.
Yes. I would have loved to even just say, the girls are in some different classes and they're meeting different peers and having some different experiences. And so, yeah, this year doesn't look like last year. But I don't think you need to pin it on intellectual differences. I think that seems a bit fair. And like you said, judgy and sort of blamey.
And more than that, like, I also, even taking this a step further, even if we assume, let's say Sophie is absolutely brilliant.
Right.
She's going to be traveling through a world where she's more intelligent than others potentially. She has to navigate that.
She does. And
Because
she
it's
has
a
to do it
difference.
kindly.
It's a difference. Yeah. And if there's a difference there that you have to learn how to navigate. I mean, here mom has taken an opportunity to teach her daughter how to navigate the world well.
Mm-hmm.
And she's taught her how to navigate the world poorly.
Right. With
and
sort of this elitism.
I don't mean to shit all over both moms here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sophie's in a tough spot, as a kiddo who is, I'm going to go ahead and just presume she's as bright as mom says she is, and she's working in these high potential classes, and that's wonderful. And she's maybe a really academically strong student. She is. I don't see. I see an opportunity for her to learn how to be gracious about this. I see an opportunity to learn how to bring her peers along and to teach them, and to really figure out how do I, as a bright person, navigate these group projects when there are differences in how we approach it and the accuracy of information and our learning styles, as opposed to kind of coming in with this one all or nothing kind of approach.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. The different perspectives people take, the different lenses people take on the world. And when Michael first began introducing this, and we were both like, "Oh yeah, we know the mom's gonna be like, my kid's smarter than yours."
Right.
It's parents are simply not objective. We're never objective about our kids, and so, like, to like, we're going to work on the mom's assumption here, and because the daughter is, objectively speaking, been put in a higher level class, so she probably is brighter than the average bear.
Yeah.
At the same time, I just can't get away from the reality that whether you're a mother, father, or a parent of whatever type of parent you are, your grandparent, your own kids, like, you don't have any objectivity.
No, it's absolutely lost. And
No. Yeah, my kids are always above average. Everyone's kids are always above average. It's like all my kids are above average. And
They come from Lake Wabugan, apparently.
yes, exactly. Like, but I mean, it's a real struggle to kind of recognize. And this is for me, what this story is so many missed opportunities.
It absolutely is
So many.
for each individual. However, the children just not knowing different, they don't know what opportunities they're missing. I presume the parents
Right.
could have learned these kinds of skills. So it is a bit disappointing on the parents' end of things.
I'm this one to some degree makes me kind of sad.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
good word for it.
yeah, because they had a chance to. They all had chances to teach the kids. And they all had chances to handle this well and have this go really smoothly.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it is a bummer that Kat and Sophie don't get along the way they used to. Maybe that'll change with time. Maybe that won't. And gosh, I miss chatting with you while Sophie and Kat play. Whatever. Maybe they
Yeah,
don't.
but
Maybe she doesn't. I don't know.
maybe not.
But I mean, there are missed opportunities here that I'm really bummed about.
Yeah, and you wonder, at least I do, often wonder about sort of the backstory and how this has been building. That often gets left off of these, and I have to imagine if we have this kind of intellectual difference from a very bright kid to one who's functioning relatively average through the school system, which many, 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 many children are, and that's a
Most.
great place to be. You also would expect that you've seen those differences developing over time. This is not a new situation for this family. So, when you think about the missed opportunities, this isn't just a missed opportunity in this situation. This is a missed opportunity over the course of time, even years, to see how these children are developing academically. Because I have to imagine there was, Sophie started probably reading more complex or at an earlier age, and some of these things where you can start to talk to these kids about how they learn differently and embrace each other around those differences, but also remain friends without having to work on a group project together. Just because you're friends doesn't mean you have to work at school together on these things. One way sometimes to preserve friendship is to not do a thing together that might be troubling. You and I both know holding good boundaries between people is the way you preserve relationships. You and I have done things together, and we've been really explicit about, here are our boundaries, because we want to maintain our friendship first. And not let something else get in the way. And I think these girls, again, when we think about a long-term missed opportunity, that's a long-term missed opportunity without putting that friendship first.
And the other opportunity here is valuing different skills.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the kid who is not, the kid who might be average as opposed to this other brighter kid may also have greater artistic ability, may have greater organizational skills. And, within group projects, especially, I mean, I think about Veritas Psychology Partners as a group project. And, so, and each of us has a different skill set. And what you try to do in any group project is lean into the skill set.
Right.
If you've got someone who's more artistic, you're going to lean into that skill. And in the group project, you lean into the skills that make the most sense. And what a great opportunity, again, to work with Sophie on what skill set does your friend Kat have if you're going to be in group projects. And for Kat's mom, again, or for all the moms here, or parents here to be like, what are the skills that these kids have that make them unique and special and wonderful that we can lean into, so we don't sit so hyper focused on this one aspect of intellectual ability that may or may not be the best marker of long-term life success.
Absolutely. I think we forget to teach our kids how to celebrate other kids and what they bring to the table. Your point's a really good one. I do see the challenge a little bit inherent in a group project at school, because we're being graded on content. And so it may be that Kat has an expectation to bring content forward that she struggles a bit more with. But then, again, I think there's an opportunity to work with the teacher around how do you bring Kat's content up to snuff in terms of what she needs to participate, but also make her feel like she's a valued member of that group project and team. And you said it well. I mean, life is kind of a group project, whether starting a business together or working on a science fair project, it's a series of group projects. That's why we learn the skills in school so that we can use them outside of school. And I know that as a middle schooler, I think my kids and now high school sometimes roll their eyes at group projects, but they have no idea yet about how important that skill is to be able to work with someone, because it's very rare that you do anything just solo in your life.
Right.
Or that you fully get to pick all your partners on the group project.
Right. Oh yeah.
And get assigned.
As you say it very well, even if you don't choose to go into a business with someone, most of our work situations are group projects. In some way or another. We're relying on, I heard this great, I thought it was a great talk about how, like, there's nobody in the entire world who knows how to make a computer mouse. Like, there's no one person who can make this. That there are so many different components, software, hardware, plastics building, design, ergonomics, glass,
wow.
So there's nobody, not a single human on the planet who can make this by themselves. Yeah. And yet we rely on it every day. And even something much less complex, there's probably no single person who can make this particular pen.
Right.
And so if all of life is a group project, this again, missed
opportunity.
Yeah.
So the internet would agree with you for the most part, although
let's give our rulings.
Oh, I'm sorry. So officially, where are you at?
I think both moms suck here.
We agree.
Yeah.
The girls are fine.
The girls are fine. They're product of their moms, but moms both kind of suck here.
Yeah, both moms kind of suck here for different reasons. Both moms had an opportunity. Both moms kind of. I'm not happy with either one. I'm not happy, and I'm not even like. Maybe I'm a little bit more annoyed. Well, no, because they're both. Neither one of them handled this well.
No.
So yeah, I think everyone
missed.
Yeah,
multiple opportunities. Both moms did.
Yeah, both moms. We agree. Both moms suck. All right. Yeah. What did the internet say, Michael?
Okay. Yep.
Well, then maybe I should temper that response a little bit then, because the internet pretty universally, like really 95%, are squarely on you're the asshole for calling out intelligence. And there are some people.
They're not wrong.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I like my slider in one of the episodes. We were talking about the slider and where on the slider of assholeness is each mom. I think they're probably slightly different points. I think they are over the threshold of asshole, but maybe not to the same degree.
Yeah, I'm going to agree, because one is sort of malicious and mean, and the other one is just like not handling it the best way she could. So
I'm not going to go with malicious and mean, but I will go with elitist and tone deaf. Which.
You're right. Maybe not malicious.
Also problematic.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Need to be a bit more in tune with that, and it troubles me how elitist and tone deaf her comments were.
I accept your correction. I think you're right. It's not.
Oh, it's just my opinion.
No. It's it's correct. Malice implies an intent to harm, and I don't think the mom had any intent to harm. She was thoughtless. So I'm gonna accept your correction.
The idea of mens rea here.
Yeah, exactly.
Whole different episode.
A whole different episode. Yes.
So the one comment that I referenced liking, and just to be clear, like, this isn't me liking the response, but like the language, and I don't know, it made me laugh. So this is how that comment begins. You're the asshole, and in such a way that I worry the universe might collapse around you.
Oh, ouch. Oofda, as they say here in Minnesota.
Wow, that's stronger than I would have put it.
Yeah.
Because to be that bad, I would have to go with she would have to have been malicious about it to be that bad.
Agreed.
She was being thoughtless and but uncaring, but that level of assholeness really requures that a person be malicious and cruel intentionally. Yes. So I love the comment, but I'm gonna definitely disagree with it.
Yeah. A lot of the comments picked up on similar threads. There was someone in there who, like me, was a former teacher and said, like, group projects rely on different abilities. And if you think that just keeping your daughter with the highest performing people is the best situation for her, that's incorrect, because even if she's in a place where other people are struggling, she has an opportunity to think about a way to convey that information and teach or educate which reinforces her own understanding of that concept. And so that was really kind of interesting.
I like that comment because it also allows Kat an opportunity to hear and learn from a peer who might phrase it differently, and allow that content to sink in and allow her to learn that in a way that maybe she hadn't. So it's really taking an opportunity away from Kat to not work with maybe those other more high achieving students.
And taking an opportunity away from, I mean, again, so many missed opportunities here it just, again, I can think about those different things that we have stronger skills or weaker skills at. I'm not a detail-oriented person. If you give me a job that requires a lot of detail, unless it's numbers, and sometimes I'm good with that. So yeah, but getting things to, I'm so like I need to be partnered with someone who's good at doing the trees because I'm kind of in the forest, and that's a differing skill level or different skill area, and we need to lean into the skills of others rather than denigrate their skills that for being different and maybe not worse, just different.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then I mentioned like 95% clearly said you're the asshole, but then the 5% on there were much more everyone sucks here, and talked about, like, you guys both did a really good job, I think, of addressing, what Kat's mom could have done, or, and all of those aspects. So, well, thank you both for another riveting debate and a glimpse into the collective conscience of internet forums. Remember, morality is often shades of gray and not just black or white.
We can't make this stuff up. I swear these are so strange sometimes. And I continue to reflect on the fact that the truth is stranger than fiction, and encourage everyone, stay your own brand of strange, but stay true.
Yeah, and join us next time as we wave through another Am I the Asshole discussion.
Yeah, please follow and share Veritas Views on any of the podcast platforms with your neighbors and friends. And as always, stick around through the credits for the bonus conversation about the seemingly random items in the therapist's office and the stories behind those objects.
You can follow Dr. Dan Kessler at Dr. Dan Kessler and Dr. Gayle MacBride at Dr. G. MacBride. Oh, and you can find them both at veritaspp.com. Credits. Tickling the Ivories, Matthew Reddington. Art, production, and design, bringing the show together with flair and finesse, Michelle Love. Recording and editing, turning chaos into something worth sharing, Michael MacBride. Intro, outro, I'm Kelly Buttrick, a VO talent who just happens to be Dr. MacBride's cousin. Cats, CJ, Linus, Sadie, and Griffin. Hosting by whomever lost the coin flip. Interruptions by all their children. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not constitute a therapist-client relationship. If you believe you may be experiencing a mental health issue, please seek the assistance of a qualified mental health professional. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988 from anywhere in the U.S. to be connected to Crisis Mental Health Services.
Thanks for listening. As promised, here's the bonus conversation.
So, Dan, as psychologists, we tend to be collectors of pieces of paper. And we often have an expectation that we display these pieces of paper, whether they be training sites or licensure or additional certifications. And I've noticed you have an additional one on your office wall this week.
I do. I finally put up my one from SciPac saying that I can practice in like all the SciPac states like you can. So we're like in like 40 states nationwide. But the state of Vermont has the coolest green.
Ooh.
Isn't that nifty? It's like this green logos because it's Vermont.
Yeah.
I am now licensed in the state of Vermont, which is interesting because I've never actually been to the state of Vermont. But I can practice psychology there.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on that achievement this week or this month.
It's one of the weird things about telehealth, and this is one of those discussions that perhaps we can get into on another podcast, like that for a psychologist to do telehealth, the client needs to be in the state the psychologist licensed in, but the psychologist can be like in other states unless they're licensed through this interstate compact, and then, it's too complicated. But the bottom line is that there are a lot of folks who are licensed in states where they don't live or don't visit or aren't in, and that's a question to ask.
I think that this really is reflective of what's happened in the last 4 years around telemedicine in general, and allowing folks to have ultimate choice in their care and finding someone who's available, especially in more rural areas. And I don't know what the therapist to person ratio is in the state of Vermont, but I have to imagine maybe it's not as robust as somewhere like New York. And so having another licensed psychologist there is a wonderful thing for the people of Vermont. So
I added it up. I've now seen clients in 21 different states over the
wow,
3 years. So
that's fantastic.
Most of them, honestly, just like on a vacation in a state that I'm licensed to practice in. And I bet if you sat down and actually wrote all the states down, you'd be willing.
I actually had to do that because when you renew that interstate compact agreement, you have to then identify what states your clients have been in. And so I did. I started ticking through, and frankly, I was falling asleep one night and went, "Oh, I missed one. I missed an obvious one. I missed Wisconsin."
I won't tell SciPac. No one's listening.
Yeah, well, I did my best, and it was the best of my knowledge at the time. And
there you go.
So I'll do better next time.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week for another Am I the Asshole debate.
Awesome.
We love hearing from you, so please review us on Apple, Spotify, or, well, wherever you're listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please review, like, and follow. Also, give it a share. This helps us reach more listeners.